Welcome back to Today we will learn about the dramatic developments surrounding Rafe Hernandez and Cat Greene's dangerous partnership that could thrust Salem's beloved police commissioner into yet another life-threatening situation. The August 5th episode brought audiences an intriguing glimpse into what appears to be the beginning of a perilous journey for Detective Rafe Hernandez. As Cat Greene embarks on her newly assigned ISA training, the foundation is being carefully laid for what could become Salem's most dangerous partnership yet. The training session between these two characters serves as more than just a simple lesson in self-defense. It establishes the groundwork for a connection that may ultimately prove fatal for one of Salem's most dedicated law enforcement officers. The training session that changes everything. During their initial training encounter, Rafe demonstrated his characteristic dedication to protecting those under his care. Cat Greene, despite her analytical background with the ISA, showed remarkable aptitude during their self-defense session, quickly absorbing the techniques Rafe demonstrated with surprising efficiency. The chemistry between mentor and student was undeniable, with Rafe noting how rapidly Cat mastered the defensive maneuvers he taught her. However, it was Rafe's concluding statement that sent chills through longtime Days viewers who recognized the ominous nature of such declarations. "But don't worry, okay? Because as long as you're my partner, I'll protect you with my life," Rafe promised Cat with unwavering conviction. These words, spoken with genuine sincerity, carry the weight of prophecy in the world of Salem, where such vows inevitably lead to devastating consequences. The significance of this pledge cannot be understated. Shane Donovan's decision to pair Cat with Rafe for field training represents more than just standard ISA protocol. It's positioning two characters on a collision course with danger. While Shane doesn't anticipate sending Cat into high-risk situations frequently, her desire to be self-sufficient in dangerous circumstances suggests that trouble will inevitably find its way to her doorstep. Patterns of peril in Salem. Rafe's protective instincts have historically placed him in harm's way throughout his tenure in Salem. His willingness to sacrifice everything for those he cares about has become both his greatest strength and most dangerous weakness. The detective's history is littered with close calls, life-threatening situations, and periods of recovery that have tested both his physical resilience and the emotional fortitude of his loved ones. The most recent and harrowing example of Rafe's vulnerability came at the hands of Connie, whose calculated attack left Salem's police commissioner fighting for his life. The brutal stabbing that sent Rafe into a prolonged coma serves as a stark reminder of how quickly situations can deteriorate in Salem. Connie's methodical approach to eliminating obstacles in her path demonstrated the lengths to which Salem's villains will go to achieve their objectives. The circumstances surrounding that attack bear eerie similarities to the current setup with Cat Greene. Both situations involve Rafe's professional obligations intersecting with personal relationships, creating vulnerabilities that Salem's criminals are quick to exploit. The parallels suggest that history may be preparing to repeat itself, with potentially even more devastating consequences. The shadow of previous traumas. Rafe's previous coma experience provides a blueprint for understanding what could lie ahead. The extended period of unconsciousness that followed Connie's attack left his loved ones in agonizing uncertainty, wondering whether Salem's dedicated detective would ever return to them. The emotional toll on Jada Hunter, his fiancée, and Gabi Hernandez, his devoted sister, was immeasurable as they maintained their bedside vigils. The recovery process itself presented additional challenges, with medical professionals monitoring for potential complications that could arise from extended periods of unconsciousness. Some patients emerge from comas with personality changes, memory gaps, or other neurological complications that can fundamentally alter their relationships and professional capabilities. The possibility of Rafe experiencing such changes adds another layer of concern to his current trajectory. Moreover, the psychological impact of surviving such a traumatic experience often creates lasting effects that influence future decision-making. Rafe's determination to protect Cat with his life may be partially driven by unresolved trauma from his previous brush with death, creating a cycle where his protective instincts become increasingly dangerous. Cat Greene's dangerous appeal. Cat Greene represents a unique challenge in Rafe's professional life because she embodies both vulnerability and capability. Her quick mastery of self-defense techniques suggests an underlying strength that Rafe finds admirable, while her analytical background with the ISA indicates intelligence and resourcefulness. However, These very qualities that make her an effective partner also place her in situations where Rafe's protective instincts are most likely to be triggered. The developing dynamic between Cat and Rafe extends beyond mere professional collaboration. Their training sessions create opportunities for emotional connection and mutual respect that could evolve into something deeper. This emotional investment increases the likelihood that Rafe will put himself in harm's way to protect her, especially given his explicit promise to do so. Furthermore, Cat's involvement in operations targeting the DiMera family places her directly in the crosshairs of Salem's most dangerous criminal organization. The DiMeras have a long history of eliminating threats through violent means, and Cat's ISA affiliation makes her a prime target for retaliation. Rafe's association with her efforts automatically places him in danger as well, creating multiple scenarios where his life could be threatened. The writers calculated Foreshadowing the Days of Our Lives writing team rarely includes dialogue as specific as Rafe's protective vow without intending to follow through on its implications. The careful construction of this scene, with its emphasis on Rafe's commitment to Cat's safety, serves as clear foreshadowing for upcoming dramatic events. The writers understand that audiences recognize such statements as harbingers of danger, and they use this knowledge to build anticipation for future storylines. The timing of this declaration is particularly significant given Rafe's recent recovery from his previous life-threatening situation. Having just emerged from one crisis, his willingness to potentially face another demonstrates either admirable dedication or dangerous recklessness, depending on one's perspective. The juxtaposition creates dramatic tension that promises to pay off in spectacular fashion. Additionally, the ongoing development of Cat and Rafe's partnership provides multiple opportunities for the writers to place them in increasingly dangerous situations. Each training session, each collaborative effort, and each moment of growing trust between them creates new possibilities for conflict and crisis. The writers have effectively created a powder keg that could explode at any moment. Potential scenarios for disaster. Several plausible scenarios could transform Rafe's protective promise into a life-threatening reality. The most obvious involves Cat being targeted by enemies seeking to disrupt ISA operations or eliminate perceived threats to their criminal enterprises. In such situations, Rafe's instinct would be to place himself between Cat and danger, potentially resulting in serious injury or worse. Another possibility involves Cat's analytical work uncovering information that puts powerful criminal organizations at risk. If her discoveries threaten to expose major illegal operations or implicate influential figures in serious crimes, those responsible would likely resort to violence to protect themselves. Rafe's association with Cat would make him a target by proxy, while his protective instincts would ensure he confronts any threats head-on. The scenario of mistaken identity also presents significant danger, particularly given Cat's previous impersonation of Abigail DiMera. Enemies from that deception could resurface seeking revenge, placing both Cat and Rafe in unexpected peril. Such situations often escalate rapidly, leaving little time for measured responses or careful planning. The cycle of heroism and consequence. Rafe's character arc consistently demonstrates the dangerous nature of heroic impulses in Salem's volatile environment. His willingness to sacrifice everything for others' safety has created a pattern where his good intentions lead to devastating consequences. This cycle appears to be repeating itself with his commitment to protecting Cat, suggesting that the writers are preparing to explore familiar themes with new intensity. The psychological toll of repeatedly facing life-threatening situations also accumulates over time, potentially affecting judgment and decision-making abilities. Rafe's experiences may have created a martyr complex that compels him to seek out dangerous situations where he can prove his worth through sacrifice. This psychological framework makes his protective promise to Cat particularly ominous. Furthermore, the expectations placed on Rafe by his community and colleagues create additional pressure to live up to his heroic reputation. The knowledge that others depend on his protection and leadership may drive him to take risks that a more cautious person would avoid, increasing the likelihood that his promise to Cat will require ultimate fulfillment. The unfolding story between Rafe Hernandez and Cat Greene represents more than just another partnership in Salem's complex web of relationships. It embodies the classic Days of Our Lives formula where love, duty, and heroism collide with devastating consequences. As these two characters grow closer through their training and collaboration, The stage is being set for a dramatic confrontation that will test the limits of Rafe's protective instincts and potentially change the landscape of Salem forever. The question isn't whether Danger will find Cat Greene in Salem. It's inevitable. The real question is whether Rafe Hernandez will survive his determination to protect her with his life. Next. The Thursday, August 7th, 2025, episode delivered an explosive mix of personal and professional drama, with several major characters reaching breaking points, and perhaps the edge of no return. EJ's destructive decision, has he pushed Belle away for good? EJ DiMera, never one to back down from power plays or emotional manipulation, may have finally crossed a line that even Belle Black cannot forgive. Their relationship has been teetering on the edge for months, built on shaky compromises and unspoken resentment. But today, it seems EJ may have delivered the final blow to their fragile bond. The couple had been navigating complicated terrain, with Belle constantly torn between her loyalty to her family and her attraction to EJ's ruthless ambition. As EJ grew increasingly obsessed with solidifying his empire, Belle tried to hold on to the remnants of love between them. However, in a moment driven by arrogance or desperation, EJ made a bold move that potentially shattered everything. While details of the confrontation are still unfolding, those close to Belle report she walked away from EJ in tears after an argument that escalated beyond words. It's unclear whether this is the end for them, but sources hint that Belle may finally be ready to cut ties with the man who has caused her nothing but heartache. Gabi's seductive strategy. A dinner date with ulterior motives across town, Gabi Hernandez was turning up the heat, and not just in the boardroom. After her intense discussion with Steve Johnson, Gabi wasted no time in setting her sights on Xander Kyriakis. She called him up and made a seemingly innocent dinner invitation, but those who know Gabi well understand nothing she does is ever truly innocent. Gabi had met with Steve earlier in the day to dig into the truth behind the Titan-DiMera merger, which she suspects is being sabotaged from within. Using her trademark charm and savvy, she played both cooperative and inquisitive, leading Steve to reveal that he had used the Freedom of Information Act to obtain confidential records tied to the merger. While Steve was still poring over the dense documents, Gabi was already planning her next move. Her dinner with Xander was no casual evening out. She intended to seduce him, and not just romantically. Gabi knew Xander might hold crucial information or could be manipulated into helping her get to the bottom of the corporate sabotage. As she slipped into a designer dress and practiced her most beguiling smile, Gabi wasn't just preparing for a date. She was preparing for battle. Xander's growing suspicions, who's targeting the merger. Earlier in the day, Xander had a quiet but tense conversation with Alex Kyriakis. In the sleek confines of the office, he confided that he feared someone was actively working to dismantle the Titan-DiMera merger from the shadows. He needed answers, and fast. Xander, who had clawed his way up from the bottom of the DiMera world, had finally found a powerful place for himself. The merger was more than a business move. It was his shot at legitimacy, and someone was trying to rip it away. So he asked Alex to use all his connections to trace the source of the sabotage. Xander's eyes were sharp with determination, his voice edged with controlled anger. He didn't know who was behind the attack, but he could feel them getting closer, lurking in the shadows of every boardroom and behind every friendly face. When Gabi called him to make dinner plans later that evening, Xander accepted with a casual tone, but his mind was still racing. Could she be the one digging around? Or was she simply another pawn in a much bigger game? Steve and Alex joined forces. A name, but no answers as promised. Alex paid a visit to Steve Johnson to ask for help investigating the identity of the person gathering sensitive information on the merger. With his usual trench coat flair and detective instincts, Steve dug deep and came up with a curious name, Daniel Lucas. The name was unfamiliar, and both men quickly agreed it was likely an alias. The trail ran cold almost immediately. No digital footprint, no birth records, nothing concrete. Still, Alex felt confident that if anyone could crack the mystery, it was Steve. And Steve, despite the dead ends, promised to keep digging. But the meeting soon took a personal turn, one that caught Alex off guard. The college prank that haunts Alex, a parrot, a robe, and a wild night as the discussion about the merger hit a pause, Steve raised a more personal issue, one that had been weighing on him ever since Alex began dating his daughter Stephanie. Specifically, Steve asked about Alex's criminal record from his college days, including a charge of grand theft and indecent exposure. With a sheepish grin, Alex launched into the bizarre story. Years ago, during a chaotic fraternity prank, Alex and some college buddies broke into a rival frat house and stole a treasured mascot. A 50-year-old African gray parrot, rumored to be worth over $10,000. The heist was a disaster from the start. In the middle of their getaway, someone tugged the bathrobe Alex was wearing right off of him. Caught in nothing but his boxers, Alex was arrested on the spot. Steve listened, half amused, half horrified. After a long pause, Steve finally chuckled and admitted he was just being a protective dad. Alex nodded solemnly and assured him that Stephanie was the best thing to ever happen to him. He promised to treat her with the respect and devotion she deserved. Despite the awkwardness of the story, the moment marked a thaw in the tension between the two men. Whether Steve will completely let his guard down remains to be seen. Anna spills Susan's theory to Tony. Is the psychic right again? Meanwhile, in a quieter corner of Salem, a bit of supernatural speculation was brewing. Anna DiMera returned home to her husband Tony with an urgent story to share, one that involved none other than Susan Banks. According to Anna, Susan had another one of her infamous psychic visions, and this time it was about something deeply disturbing. Susan believed that the Titan DiMera merger was cursed. She claimed that dark energy surrounded the entire deal and that betrayal was imminent, not from the outside, but from someone deep within the DiMera family. The more Anna spoke, the more animated she became, waving her arms and clutching Tony's lapels. Tony, always the rational one, listened with a patient smile but dismissed the idea as yet another of Susan's wacky premonitions. Still, Anna insisted they couldn't ignore the possibility. After all, hadn't Susan been right before? She predicted Marlena's possession. She warned about EJ's downfall. Could she be right again? Javi's exit, a bittersweet goodbye or a new beginning. In a final emotional beat, fans were stunned by the departure of Al Calderon, who played Javi. Leaning against the kitchen counter, phone in hand, Javi stared off as if absorbing 1,000 unspoken words. It was a quiet, soulful moment that hinted at both closure and possibility. Though Javi is leaving Salem, for now, Al Calderon has reassured fans this isn't a goodbye, but rather a see you later. Rumors swirl that Javi may return with a vengeance, perhaps with secrets of his own that could shake Salem to its core. Until then, the door remains open, and the hearts of viewers remain hopeful. The battle lines are drawn as the sun sets over Salem. Alliances are shifting, secrets are festering, and hearts are breaking. Whether it's EJ possibly ruining his last chance at happiness, Gabi playing a dangerous seduction game, or Alex facing the ghosts of his past, one thing is clear. No one is safe, and nothing is certain. The Titan DiMera merger hangs in the balance. Love is tested, loyalties are strained, and the storm is only just beginning. Stay tuned for tomorrow's episode, because in Days of Our Lives, anything can